Hi folks, welcome to the ECY Shedcast, the wholly irregular ECY Shedcast that is. Apologies that I didn't get a chance to do a video last week. I was hoping to, but I just couldn't get in the right headspace somehow, so it just kind of didn't happen. It's a shame because we had exciting stuff, but it'll have to wait for hopefully the video after this. Anyway, so today, what is it, mid-May? We're still in kind of a lockdown, but not, but ish. Hard to explain, really, but for what it's worth, we are basically still in lockdown. So yeah, things are still quite weird, and that's where we're at, really. Just kind of got to get on with it, haven't we? Anyway, and to be honest, creativity I find is such good escapism. You know, you can really get lost in it, and it's satisfying and it's rewarding, and it makes you feel productive, doesn't it? So it's all good. It's all good. Anyway, today I mainly wanted to talk to you about our next update, of course, because that's this week's big news for us. And this one is Brimham High Twist. So our Brimham base, I'm just thinking I should have brought a skein in to compare the normal Brimham. Actually, I think I've got some down here. Hang on a sec. Let's have a little dig. No, that's not it. Oh yes, there we go. How handy was that? Almost like I planned it. I didn't. I didn't mean to, but I didn't. So Brimham, this is our normal Brimham 4-ply. As you can see, it's standard 4-ply yarn. It's superwash merino and nylon. It's very soft, very squishy, very lovely. Brimham High Twist, I'm just looking for a sort of similar colour, just because, is the same fibre blend, but it's spun with a high twist. You can see the difference there, hopefully. So yeah, so the Brimham 4-ply is literally 4-ply. It's 4 strands of yarn twisted together. Brimham High Twist, it's given this texture because it's 2 strands of yarn which are twisted more tightly in order that they kind of swizz back around each other, technical term that, and you get this lovely high twist texture. What you also get is a much more solid, crisp and hard wearing yarn, because it's more tightly spun, but it's balanced as well. So yeah, that's why it's high twist, and that's how it's high twist. It basically does what it says on the tin, if we're honest. Anyway, I really love this yarn because you get really like crisp, clear colours on it. Now we have a lot of yarns where when I dye them, the colour kind of, it's like watercolours. It can be quite wishy-washy and kind of like the colours that, you know, blur into each other like water, like I say, like watercolours. But with the Brimham High Twist, it's totally different. It's more like painting, I don't know, with acrylics maybe. The colour is a lot more crisp and clear. You get really good clarity with this yarn, which it's just different, and it's just really fun. Like that's Bluebell Woods, which I'll talk about in a sec. So yeah, it's a really fun yarn to work with. I really enjoy it, and it's quite different from most of our other yarns. It's hard because it's more hard wearing. I would say that this is better for socks than Brimham 4-ply. For me, personally, I would go for this if I had the choice. The high twist just makes it more hard wearing, because the fibres are more tightly spun. It's the same superfine merino, it's just spun differently. And by superfine for us, that's 19.5 microns. So it is literally superfine. It's not, you know, I'm not just saying that. So that's the yarn, and the fibre. I did say, didn't I, it's merino nylon. I hope I did. Anyway, it is. So I'll come back to Bluebell Woods because I was just picking that up and showing it to you. Bluebell Woods is it's a colour that I've been kind of trying to do it on and off for years. Like every year about this time of year, I'll be like, oh, you know, there's loads of bluebells around, I'll have a go at this colourway, like, but not really knowing what I was aiming for or how I was doing it. I just kind of had this vague notion that it might be something that I would like to do. So, and I think I probably have produced a few batches of it and they've all looked different, but I think I might have finally nailed down what I want it to look like and how I want to achieve it, if that makes sense. So I'll grab a couple more skeins. So it's a variegated colourway, sort of gentle, and I really wanted to capture, as I decided this year, the sort of the different shades of sort of blues, purpley blues, aren't they, really, bluebells, not so much just blue, but also kind of mix in, you know, the brown, and there's actually a hint of green as well, if you can just about see that. So that's Bluebell Woods, and I think if I reproduce it after this, I think it will actually look like this. I don't think I'm going to change it again. I'm not planning to anyway. So yeah, Bluebell Woods. What else have I done? Oh, I was showing you this just before, wasn't I? This is Verbena. Again, it's a colourway, it probably has changed a couple of times. I originally called it Waltzing Verbena, but I'm not sure that kind of that name really worked. There you go. The point of this colourway is that I've got a verbena in my border, and it's next to some grasses which are sort of, you know, this colour. And when you kind of look down the border, you get the pops of purple, and they kind of bob about in the wind. And then you've got like sort of greens and greys, and actually this is not that dissimilar from the colour of our fence. I'm just looking at it now. And you get these pops of purple against the background, and that's the point of this colourway. It's not to be purple, it's just to have pops of purple. Because I know I've mentioned this before, but I love the idea of colourways where you've got quite a simple base colour, but then just as you're working with it, you get these little pops of colour, not speckles, but just little like dashes of colour. They're a bit more than a speckle, and they just kind of like intersperse as you're working with the yarn, and kind of just add a little bit of interest, really. So that's Verbena. I'm just sticking with Verbena now rather than Waltzing Verbena. Anyway, so that's that. What else have I got? Oh, there's so much to choose from. I'll just tilt the camera and then you can see some of this pile that I'm digging around in. Can you see that? Yeah. And then there's the minis behind me. I've just plonked everything on the desk here. There's no like sense of order or anything. It's all just dumped. So I'll just spread it all out and I'll get what I want as I need it. So oh, I don't know where to go next. Right, here's another one, beach glass. Pretty self-explanatory, beach glass, and it's got little pops of sort of lime. I hope you can see that. Yeah, you can just about, I think. Can you see that? So yeah, it's just I mean, it's really cold today. It doesn't feel anything like summer at all, but this is such a nice, refreshing, summery colourway somehow. See if I can, there's another, a few more skeins of it, then you can really see it all together. There you go. I just love it. Might possibly have stolen a skein. And it goes really, really well with this blue, which is Larkspur. It's quite a nice glowing blue. It's quite different from most of my other blues, really. I do a lot of greyish blues, but I don't do that many blue blues, I would say. So Larkspur is probably my bluest blue, if that makes sense. Anyway, they're really nice together. I like those together a lot. And then that actually takes me on to the next thing catching my eye. Meadow grasses. I've done a few batches of this recently because it's just so lovely, and again it's such a pleasure to dye. It's just a mix of blues and greens. It's simple as that, really. And this is meadow grasses, as in like the bluish coloured grasses that you get. I've got some in my, well, it's not a meadow yet, but I'm hoping it will be at some point. But I do have some like actual meadow grasses, and they're a bluish colour, and they're really pretty. So that's that, and then that actually is drawing my eye round to this one, which is Lakeland. Now, I mean, clearly Lakeland is inspired by the Lake District. That's not surprising. So this is a really gentle, I don't know what the word is other than gentle, mix of sort of greens, blues, greys, but it's just kind of designed to make you feel like you're walking through the Lake District and admiring the views, you know, sort of like it's meant to be a bit kind of grey and murky, and with the colours all kind of like blending together. It's quite a subtle colourway, and I don't know whether it actually the colours show through that well in photos. It's quite hard to photograph. I think my camera just thinks the whole thing is grey, and it's just really not. But it's one of those things that you kind of have to see it in real life. I mean, it's even got little pops of really subtle, tiny pops of lime as well. It's kind of one of these colourways that I've done where I want it to be variegated, but I want it to be really subtle. I want you to be able to do, you know, more complicated stitches in it without them getting lost in the colours. I hope that makes sense. So that's Lakeland anyway. I don't do it that often, but I do really love it. So then the next colourway that I want to show you, and this is actually genuinely entirely grey, is this. This is Dry Stone Wall. Right, dry stone is another one of those things where it's used either as one word or as two words. People seem to use both. So I think I'm going to settle on using two words: Dry Stone Wall. These are the random thoughts, you see, that go through my head whilst I'm dyeing. You get a chance to overthink things, you see. So it's just a monochrome colourway, and it's fun because, I mean, I do sort of like steel and ash and charcoal as plain greys quite often, because I think that you need neutral colours and you need plain colours in the palette to show off these other more variegated colours. So if you're using two colours together, you don't want them all jazzy all the time. You know, it's really useful to have simpler and plainer things to frame the more jazzy and interesting colours. But this is a nice one to do because it is fairly plain, but it's not entirely. So it's, you know, it's a variegated colourway, but it is monochrome. So like, because I keep thinking to myself, oh, in fact, every time I come to do a shed cast, like I put on a hand knit jumper if I'm not already wearing one. I generally am, to be honest, but like today I was not wearing a hand knit jumper. So I went to put on this, and then caught myself thinking, oh, I could do something around my neck, because it's still quite cold today. It's freezing actually, what we're talking about is freezing. And of course, because I'm wearing like a fairly, well, not colourful, but I mean, it's a stripy jumper, isn't it? You know, I'm looking around at all my shawls thinking, just don't quite have anything plain enough to pair with this. Like all my shawls are multicoloured. And in fact, I think probably most of them have got quite a lot of pops of colour in, because that's how I tend to knit them. Or crochet them. I've got quite a lot of crocheted shawls as well, actually. Anyway, so this is a colourway that I should really keep skein of and make myself a shawl with, because if you're going to do a monochrome thing and you want it to, but you still want it to have some interest to it, but to be able to put it with like any other colour, this is the colourway. This is what this colourway is designed for. It's meant to be interesting, but go with like anything else. So that's Dry Stone Wool. It's variegated grey, really. And again, it's something that I just love to do. What else do we have? So, what should I show you next? I think I will show you my current, probably favourite colour. I'm hoping you might recognise it. You recognising it yet? If I can hold another skein, I will do. There we go. Mountain Hare. Brown. Yay. So I know I say this every single time. Browns don't sell very well usually. This colour pretty much has done. But on the whole they don't. However, I love brown, and so that's why I insist on keeping doing it, because if you can't do the colours that you love, then what's the point? So yes, I might possibly slightly have stolen a skein of that on every base that I've dyed it on so far, but let's not talk anymore about that. That's Mountain Hare, and well, if it's a miss, I might possibly end up with another skein or two. Another favourite, Loganberry. Let's just dig out some more. There we go. So yeah, there we go. Not much more to say about it really, if I'm honest. It's just a really, really nice colourway. It's fun to dye. I absolutely love it. Again, I have some of this stashed on, I think, a couple of bases now. I've stashed a skein of this, to be honest. And I actually got to a point a couple of weeks ago, actually, where because I've been machine knitting with stash yarns, and I've made a couple of jumpers, and they're striped, so they use lots of different skeins out of my stash, and they're all made in not ECY yarns. It's all stuff that I picked up at like Edinburgh Yarn Festival and stuff like that. And anyway, so like for those, I've been browsing through my stash, and as I've looked through, and I thought I should really make an ECY version of these stripy jumpers. And then I'm looking at the 4-ply bit of my stash, and there's no ECY in there. And the reason is because I just kind of don't really stash my own yarn. What I do is, at the point where I'm like, I need to make a sample, I need to make this pattern in this yarn or whatever, I just go straight to the stock room and pull it out of stock. But actually, I suddenly thought it might actually be more useful to start stashing my own stock as if I was a customer, so like browsing it and picking out my favourite colours like I would in a shop, putting that into stash and then coming up with what samples I'm going to make with it, and doing it that way round rather than the other way round, if I hope that makes sense. So the upshot is that recently I've started stashing my own yarn, and that is why I have a few skeins of Brimham High Twist, it has to be said, and so yeah, maybe, you know, kind of like next time I'm browsing my stash, rather than thinking, oh, I just haven't quite got what I want here and I'll have to go and choose it from stock, and then there's so much to choose from and it's actually really overwhelming, because it's like boxes and boxes and boxes. Actually, I've just got this shelf in the stash cupboard, and that's what I've got to choose from. These are the colours that go together. Right, okay, I'll use those. Anyway, that was quite a big diversion, wasn't it? So I have also done some plain semi-solid colours for this update. There's Dusk, Silver Birch, both go with basically everything, Azalea, lovely zingy pink. Oh, my azalea's actually just started flowering that this is named after, so I photographed it like one single bloom with the yarn, and it's such like a perfect match. It's really cool. And then Daffodil, again yellow, very hit and miss, but I think at this time of year it kind of feels justified, and it does go with lots of other colours. Like I mean yellow and purple together, that's just classic, isn't it? And you could pair it with meadow grasses. Oh, what about that? Dry stone wall with daffodil, grello. You see, always thinking, or at least pretending to. Oh, actually, does that work? I think I like that. Yeah, I think I'd use those together. Yeah, I mean it's yellow and pink. You get them in nature together. What else have we got? Have I shown you all the yarn colours of the full-size skeins? I think I have. So that brings me on to mini skeins. I've done a load of pastel rainbow mini sets. Obviously you get 7 skeins. These are 20-gram skeins in a set. I must admit the two blues are quite similar. Well, it's blue and violet, isn't it, really, I think. But anyway, it makes a rainbow. So yeah, 7 skeins in that. I've only done 5 of those because, to be honest, by the time you've done 5 sets of 7 mini skeins, that's a lot of mini skeins. So that's why I don't do very many of those at a time. Right, so other minis. I've done Bog Myrtle, which is orange. Yeah, I love orange. You know I love orange. What's that one? And then I did Stone Chat, which is, it's kind of a dusky pink, but it's like slightly orangey as well. I'm really selling this, aren't I? I love those two together. I didn't intentionally make them to go together, but there we are. Jim. So it's much more zingy, and it's a pale blush. It's not named after either of the GMs that I currently have in my garden, because one of them is bright orange and the other one's like a lemon yellow. But it's there are GMs in this colour, so that's what that one's named after. Oh, Compost brown again. Compost is a good brown though, because it's let me just check. Yeah, it comes out differently on all the yarn bases, you see, but on this one it's quite a greyish brown. It is meant to be a greyish brown. It can come out a bit pinky on some of the bases, but it comes out really well on this. And of course it goes, I mean, goes with everything. There's a couple more colours actually that I've done which totally unintentionally work with this group of colours. So the sand, I don't do sand very often because, like I said before, yellows don't always sell that well. But it's nice to do it now and then, and actually it does go with a lot of other colours, because check that out. Let me just move these so that you can see all of them. Like, look at that, I really like that together. But there is one more, oh there is, which is driftwood, which I would describe as beige. Is it beige? Yeah, I think that's beige. And then, which end shall I put that on? Put that next to the stone chat, because the stone chat brings out the slight warmth to it. So it's on the end, on this side, that's driftwood, and the stone chat just brings out the slight warmth to the colour of it. Now look what happens if I move it next to the sand, and now it's next to the sand, and I don't know if you can see, but that makes it look much cooler and more washed out when you put it next to that. So I would keep it next to the stone chat, like so. I hope you can see those colours well enough. So yeah, but I do just love that grouping together. I'd love to say that I intended for them to all go together, but I'm afraid it's pure accident. It's just a happy coincidence. So that's that lot. I've done quite a few others though as well. There's a couple of greens. We've got Woodland, which is my favourite, I think, dark green, and then Hosta, which is, yeah, I mean it's sort of not bright, but it's quite a greeny green. I love those two together. And I've taken some pictures of this with one of the Hostas in my border, because it is actually the right colour. Yay! And it is, that's the reason why it's named. So I really like these. I'll just show you. I really like them with Lakeland, because they pick out the green in the Lakeland. So I think those are really nice together. So that you could do a pair of socks with this as the main colour and then that as the toe. And you want it as the toe, maybe the heel, and then definitely the cuff as well. That'd be really nice. So those are the greens. And right, so I actually I've done Snow Leopard on the minis as well. I'll get a few more and then you can really get a good view of it. So that's Snow Leopard on the minis. And I actually really like that with these greens. I plonked them down next to each other earlier when I was photographing them, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute, they're really nice together. So yeah, just one of those random things. I just really like those together. But yeah, so Snow Leopard, I did actually do that with a little bit of a plan, because I thought, wouldn't it be so cool to go full on monochrome? So you've got Dry Stone Wall here and then Snow Leopard. So let's get rid of one of those. So you could get those, and you could do like a shawl with stripes, or again, a pair of socks with Snow Leopard as the toe, heel and cuffs. And I just think that would be really, really nice. I've got some stripy shawl suggestions, well, a couple that spring to mind coming up after. So let's just finish off with the minis. A few more colours, which again I actually did. Wow, did I plan it? I kind of planned for these to go together, although I'm not sure which of the full size skein colours I thought they would go with. But here we go, here we go. Look at those beauties. So there is Heathered Crags. That's Alpine, and that's Buddleia. So I've got quite a few bright pink alpine plants in my garden. I have taken a picture of this with the one that it's named after, because again it's flowering at the moment. Buddleia, unfortunately, I'm just looking at it, my Buddleia is nowhere near blooming just yet. When it is, I will have to dye some more and take some pictures with it. So I've taken a picture of the minis with the not at all in flower Buddleia, but I love those together. And yes, that was actually planned for those to look nice together. Whether you put them together or not is entirely up to you, but the choice is there if you want it. Again, I would be put those with dry stone wool and just have these pops of colour, or verbena even. In fact, look at how good Buddleia looks with verbena. Oh, if I'm not covering it with labels, there we go. Because this purple just really brings out these pops of purple. It's a pinky purple, isn't it? But yeah, purple. So those are great together as well. And there's just a few skeins of dusk actually as well. I'm just looking at what I would put dusk with. I'd put dusk with Heathered Crags and Buddleia. Oh yes, and then there you go with Loganberry beautifully. What else? Do they go with Bluebell? So Heathered Crags I don't think really goes with Bluebell. I don't know, you could use it as contrast. I don't think they really work. But they certainly do. So yeah, we have many minis. Ta-da! Just look at those. Actually, I'm just thinking, would Snow Leopard look good with... Oh, yes, of course it would. Snow Leopard with Buddleia. Yes. What about Snow Leopard with Heathered Crags? Not as strong a yes, but still a yes. Right, so that's all the yarn and all the colours and combination suggestions. There are many more that you could do. In fact, actually, before I finish on that, I'll just show you something that I photographed earlier that caught my eye. No, maybe not that one, but that one. Yes. Mountain hare with stone chat, bog myrtle and driftwood. I've taken a picture of those together because I love how kind of like dusky and just rustic maybe they are. They're kind of like farmhousey somehow, aren't they? Like barn door kind of palette. I don't know, I'm talking rubbish. So that's that lot. Now let me show you how this yarn knits up. There you go, that's how it knits up. You can see the texture. You can see there where I've grafted the ends together. Shall I show you the nice side? There you go. You can see the texture. You can see how the colour, the pops of colour in this are really crispy and clear, which is lovely. But it's very smooth next to the skin. It's completely smooth. And that's all there is to say about it, really. It's perfectly soft and smooth, and just as, you know, as lovely and warm and cozy as anything else. It's got a decent amount of drape to it, but of course, because of the high twist, it's very structured, so it will really hold its shape. So I would basically use it for anything, including socks. So very versatile. I don't have any crocheted swatches. I'm sure I did do, in fact they're probably on the blog. I think I did both knitted and crocheted swatches. Well, I always do both. When we first got this yarn, because we've not had it that long. So I think there should be pictures of it on the blog. I'm sure there are. But yeah, Laura's crocheted a Doppio Colosseum shawl with it, which she's just recently finished, and it looks amazing. I have crocheted with it as well as knitted, and it's just the firmness of it somehow is I think especially nice for crochet. Like, your hook kind of glides through it just really nicely. It's very satisfying somehow to crochet with. Anyway, so yeah, highly recommended. Obviously, why would I have it if I didn't? Ideas for what to make. We get asked fairly frequently what to make with mini skeins. We have a blog post about this because there's just so many ideas. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. Things like dolls' clothes, small things like fingerless mittens. If you've got something like a hat that's got like a striping or a bit of Fair Isle, mini skein is really handy for that. Amigurumi, anything like that, toys, yeah, mini skeins just handy. They're also handy for sampling lots of different bits of colours as well, or even just trying out different yarns if you're not sure about them. So this that I'm waving around is the PPS shawl by Louise Tilbrook, which stands for Pattern Please. And this uses 1 skein of your main colour plus 5 minis. I mean, this is not that yarn, but it's just to show you what you could do with mini skeins. There are lots of patterns on Ravelry that use like 1 main colour and then a load of minis. You should be able to search on the advanced search thing, I think you can filter by how many colours you want to use. Anyway, I think the best thing probably is to have a look for our blog post on what to do with mini skeins, and we do update these blog posts, you know, the inspiration kind of ideas things. As we find new things, we do add them in. So yeah, stuff like that though is really good. And the other thing that I've got which sprung to mind, this is so cute. Just sit that right and then you'll be able to see it. There you go. How gorgeous is that? This pattern is called Baby Kylie by Anne Klimpert, and it's on Ravelry, and that used mini skeins. Claire kindly knitted this for us to show off ideas. So that's a rainbow set, as you can see. Actually, the purple's more purple in that. I must have dyed slightly different colours. So yeah, stuff like that. It's just brilliant for mini skeins. So I wonder if I've covered everything. I feel like I might have done. Well, I probably haven't, but I feel like that's all I can think of. So yeah, if you're watching this within a couple of days of it going live, this update goes live on the website at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, UK time, obviously, because that's where we are. We do try to change the times of the updates and the days of the updates frequently, probably every time we do one actually, the reason being that if we had it at the same time, like every week or every 2 weeks or however often, there's always going to be people that can't make that time. And so they would always be excluded. So we think the fairest way to do it is just to really try and mix it up. So some of our updates will suit our American customers much better. Some of them will suit our European customers much better. Some of them will suit our Japanese and Chinese customers much better. And you know, and so on, kind of all the way across the globe, through the time zones really. And it is something that we take into consideration. And you know, if the update lands at like 3 a.m. your time, all I can say is I'm sorry, but the next one won't do. So apologies if that's a really, if you know 8 a.m. our time is a really bad time for you, but the next one will be a totally different time and will hopefully suit you better. And there is lots of yarn to choose from as well, you know, so I would hope that there'd still be enough left by the time you are able to log on, that you'll be able to get something lovely either way. So, oh, is there anything else I want to tell? I did get a little restock of the Cat Knits stitch markers. I'm not sure if I've updated the stock number on the website, but we'll double check that. So we've got those, just a few sets in stock. Yeah, there's a handful there. What else is there? Shall I show you the new Milburn colours? I've got them to hand. This is the shed cast that I really wanted to do last week and just didn't get a chance. Basically, I really want to do a video all about Milburn because there's this whole story to it, and I know a lot of you already know it, but I feel like it now would be a good time to retell it. Anyway, really quickly before I end, Crocosmia Milburn 4-ply and double knit orange, yes. And then we also have compost. You know that thing that I was saying about brown is not selling? Well, I got another new brown, so hopefully we will actually sell some. If we don't, then I just won't produce any more of it, and that's fine. But this really does add to the palette, I have to say. Like, yeah. So that's the exciting thing, which I will do a shed cast all about at some point. It's going to take quite a lot of organisation because I need to go and ideally I need to go and dig out like one of each colour of the rest of the Milburn so that I can show you different colour combinations, and that's a bit of a logistical pain in the neck. And I've also got piles and piles of samples that I would love to pull out and show you. So again, it's going to require quite a bit of organisation, and I just haven't had a chance. But I will do that soon, I promise. So yeah, that's where we're at this week. We've got so much exciting stuff happening, and yeah, I'm excited to get it all on video and get samples made and take lots of photos and share it with you all. And I hope it'll just it'll inspire you and give you the escapism that you need and the creativity that you need, and you get something to wear at the end of it, something that you've made that's totally unique. And what could be better than that? I'll see you next time.